Luke Shaw's brilliant influence on the Man United dressing room revealed. Could there be a shock twist in the takeover with Paul Mitchell always kind of being expected? But could Manchester United upset Newcastle and steal Dan Ashworth? Lots of reports coming out about that. We've got more updates on the boring Jadon Sancho saga. We know he's leaving, so we'll rush through that bit. And then we're going to talk about the Bournemouth game. A few comments Ten Hag's made. Rashford not available, Lindelof not available. Who's going to be the starting 11? And what is the whole situation going on? So please do hit that like button and of course subscribe down below if you're new. So let's get into the Luke Shaw story. This was a few things that Ten Hag said on Luke Shaw, and then we'll get into the story on Luke Shaw. So Ten Hag said on Luke Shaw in his press conference today, I think a lot of him, he's a player others can build on. He gives belief and confidence to other players, teammates around him feel comfortable. And I think the return of Luke Shaw has been massive for United. Not only have we got better in build-up and progression, not only can he play not only can he play left centre back and left back, but he's an all-round captain and leader, and he has been at United for the last 2 years. He gets a lot of stick because he's been here a while and he's had good seasons, bad seasons, and he had that awful leg break. But the thing about Luke Shaw is he's always been seen as one of the dressing room leaders, one of Ten Hag's go-to guys, and he's never been the type of guy to throw a manager under the bus. He's one of the players that's been rallying the dressing room together, very much Ten Hag in as well. And Erik Ten Hag said on Luke Shaw's effect on the team, he will deal with difficult situations, he will set up, take initiative, create and strengthen team. He said what he likes about Luke Shaw is he has to deal with difficult things, setbacks, but he will strengthen the team. He finds ways to get around it. Luke Shaw sort of always been praised as this top professional, will do whatever the manager wants him to do without really putting up a fuss. He sort of just gets on with it, and he is always been very strong mentality wise, has always rallied the dressing room together, always tried to stop the leaks, always tried to back a manager. And Ten Hag said on what Shaw brings to the team, he said it's his presence, his personality, but the skill set with physicality, so strong, technical, very good. He's a high profile player and we're happy to have him back. Not only does he help him build up, not only has he got the technical ability, but he looks so much better with Luke Shaw because him, Garnacho and Bruno were linking up so well on that left hand side. He even brings out the best in Rashford because he's such a technically good player. He's obviously athleticism is very good. He always used to get critiqued for being fat, but he's always been in pretty good shape since Ten Hag's come in, left back, left centre back. But it's his presence. He's always had a good mentality, a winning mentality. He's always been seen as a leader in the dressing room, one of the hardest working players as well. And I think we needed that back in the dressing room, having lost a lot of significant sort of people through injuries like Casemiro as well. And an interesting thing that was said by United Nad, who works for the United District, so there was 4 particular players in Bruno Varane, Maguire and Shaw who have been leader figures throughout this whole time at United, rallying the squad together, and they're very annoyed about the constant false stories, and they're keeping the squad together. They're trying to stop the leaks, they're trying to rally the squad, get everyone together. And I think Varane's an interesting name mentioned there because there's been a lot of fake reports on him, but they seem to be the 4 players that are sort of holding the United dressing room together and not causing problems. It was also kind of said that Luke Shaw was one of the players that actually was visibly frustrated at the leaks and had a massive go at allegedly who the 2 leak as well, was a rumour coming out. Now I'm going to quickly get through the takeover and transfer news, and then we're going to dive into the Bournemouth game, the latest on that, how United's going to line up versus Bournemouth. But it was said in regards to the takeover that Sir David Brailsford would like to convince Newcastle sporting director Dan Ashworth to join him at United, and Brailsford and Ashworth are close due to their relationship going back many years. And then it was also said by other sources that Ratcliffe could make a play for Newcastle sporting director Dan Ashworth, which would be a big shake-up. Now, it was said that they might be looking at bringing in more than one sporting director, which could be Paul Mitchell and Dan Ashworth. But I will say this now, Dan Ashworth is at Newcastle. He's doing a great job. Newcastle got really good owners. They're on a really good project. I don't see him leaving Newcastle for Man United, even though we're getting new ownership, just because the Glazers are still there. I'd be very surprised if he joined Man United, even though he knows he's still got to be working with the Glazers. There's still going to be constraints, whereas at Newcastle, he can sort of do his thing. But I wouldn't say no to Dan Ashworth. He's done a really good job on the Newcastle rebuild, did a really good job at Brighton. He's a great guy. I think I'd still probably edge Paul Mitchell, but if we do want to get both, even better, hey? And he's been fantastic at Newcastle, but I generally don't see him leaving Newcastle for United because I think Newcastle's future is more exciting than United's. Their project, they're probably going to be the next Man City, the powerhouse, and I think Dan Ashworth would like to be a big part of that, and I think he's done a really good job so far. So I don't see it happening. In terms of transfers, Juventus have denied interest in Sancho. It's apparently Dortmund and Galatasaray interest in Sancho as well as Saudi teams. But it was said that these rumours of a swap deal between Sancho and Marlon are unlikely at this stage. It looks like Sancho's going to go in January, but I don't think people are really lining up for Sancho as much as he thought because of his high wages, because of his attitude issues. I don't think many top teams are that bothered about Sancho, and I think Sancho probably thought a load of teams would line up for him. I think he will be sold. I don't know where he'll be sold to. do. I think United will get rid of him, but I think it's going to be, we get rid of him on loan and we pay his bloody wages and we just try to get him out the environment, in all honesty, because teams know that United crap are selling, teams know they can take advantage of us. It's one of those things as well. Erik ten Hag was asked about Manchester United's issues because Man United is in a set crisis, but we've won all the Player of the Month awards for November. Manchester United has got all this negative media attention despite being equal on points with Ange, above Newcastle, Chelsea. And so Ten Hag was asked about United being in a crisis, and he just said, so we know where we are going, and we've had our setbacks, especially at the start of the season. Things went against us, injuries, decisions, and sometimes you find yourself in such a place. But he said, you see the character of the team, we're in a better place, in better form. The performances are increasing, we are performing as a team, as individuals. You have to be sharp in every game. The league is very competitive, and you have to see the results this week. And hopefully Chelsea isn't a blip and we just turn up against Bournemouth are absolutely dreadful. Hopefully this is something we can build on, because I generally think, you look at Liverpool last season, they started particularly poorly because they had the fatigue and the injuries and unluck with VAR, and then they ended quite strongly. I'd like Man United to go on a run of games where actually I can see where we're going come end of the season. We finished the season a lot more strongly than we started because we had more injuries at the start of the season. VAR went against us. A lot went against us at the start of the season, which hopefully can sort of fix itself out now, and hopefully we can do better. But we've got Liverpool, we've got West Ham, we've got Bournemouth, 3 incredibly difficult games. So we can't just take this Chelsea win and think, oh, we're back on track. We need to do better consistently, and hopefully that is the start of some good form. Hopefully that is the start of something positive going forward. But as said, 50% of the dressing room apparently want Ten Hag out, but they all seem to be happy and backing him there in training. Maguire, Ten Hag and Garnacho all picking up big Player of the Month awards. So I think, Man United sort of been made out to be in this awful crisis, but I don't think we're anywhere near as bad as the people are making out. Like, I think the football we're playing isn't great. I think some of the players are a big mess, but I don't think we're as bad as people are making out. I think the media just loves to feed and make money off United negativity as well. Now, we're going to talk about the Bournemouth game. What's Man United's sort of expected starting 11 versus Bournemouth? So it was said that Lindelof is unavailable for the game, but Varane is fit to play. It'd be interesting to see if he does start Varane. I think please just start Varane and put Luke Shaw left back. Although Reguilon was quite good, so maybe he'll move Luke Shaw left centre back. Who knows? It was said that Rashford missed training today through illness, is now doubtful till tomorrow. Now, a lot of Man United players have played with an illness this season, but I don't know what's going on with Rashford. Ten Hag did say that Rashford's an incredible player, a good player. You can't do it with 11 players. He can't play every game. He's not in this at the moment, and in the form he was in last year, I'm sure he'll get there, said Ten Hag. And look, I think Rashford will get back to his best. I think Rashford will be fine, but there's a few rumours about Rashford causing problems and this and that, and I don't like to buy into it, but the illness thing does feel like a bit of a coincidence when there's been a lot of other players that have played with an illness this season and been praised to play with an illness, but Rashford's not in training and not in the game. But there's a lot of illnesses going around. I'm not going to be one of these people that tries to feed into these conspiracies that, oh, actually, you know what, Rashford was just dropped for bad behaviour, this and that. I'm going to generally feed into the fact that he has an illness. Now, let's talk about Manchester United starting 11 ahead of the Bournemouth game. So who am I playing? Because a lot of people said, should we rest people ahead of the Bayern game? Well, I think, if the Bayern game meant that if we won, we were through, then I would rest people ahead of the Bayern game. But even if we beat Bayern, if one of the other teams win, we're screwed. So right now, I would play what Ten Hag sees as his sort of strongest squad, and that would be Delo, Shaw, and Nana. I would bring in Varane here. I don't think he will, and I would bring in Maguire here. I think he's going to play Luke Shaw at centre back and Reguilon at left back. I would like to see, in all honesty, Amrabat as a 6, Maino as an 8, and Bruno as a 10. But I think it's going to be McTominay that plays instead of Maino, which is fair enough. He's scoring the goals. But I just think that in terms of control, Maino would give us more. I think in those big games, we'll probably need Maino more than McTominay just because we won't have as much possession. But I think if we're expecting to dominate possession in a game like this, I can see why Ten Hag would go with someone like McTominay, who is a goal threat. So I assume that this will be the starting 11 ahead of the game, and I wouldn't really change much from it. I would like to see Maino be paired with Amrabat. There was a report that Mason Mount could be back, but I think that's not until next week. But it'll be interesting to see what he does with Shaw. Obviously, we've got the likes of Johnny Evans back as well. It'll be interesting to see what he does. But I think Ten Hag will definitely line up something like this. To be honest, I think I could see him maybe even making an unchanged lineup bar the centre-back because Lindelof's not available to the last game. Because if we won and we play convincingly, I can't see him changing a lot. Ten Hag's not the kind of guy that wants to change things. But anyway, please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Thank you for watching today's video. I will be back with a watch along. Well, maybe not a watch along, depends what I'm doing tomorrow. It's a crazy day. But I will be back for a match reaction to United versus I was about to say West Ham, Bournemouth, and there'll be a live stream in the evening, I'm sure of it. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.